Some authors prefer to create cryptic stories that are up to interpretation. Fumito Ueda is a clear example. His games always leave the player question what he experienced, trying to uncover every detail of the story and its meaning. This video will look at his Red Thread. A narrative thread connects all his works and runs through the themes he explores. Also, a video game has an active side that differentiates it from the other narrative media. It's a game, therefore, you play it to proceed in the story. Ueda bets everything on creating emotional experiences. Therefore, everything that we'll talk about is linked to generate and stimulate feelings. He refers to his narrative as design by subtraction. He wants to create a realistic world with its own rules, which are not directly explained but learned through experience. Not telling the player what's happening pushes their imagination to connect all the narrative clues, adding a layer to the experience. The first thing that all his games have in common is that all his protagonists aren't adult, but male children between the age of 10 and 15. It immediately creates a response into gamers. They feel protective and supporting, wanting to see the protagonist survive and nothing wrong happening to him. Ueda also takes advantage of cultural implications linked to children, like innocence and purity. Having a young protagonist also allows him to make them brave to the limit of recklessness, not considering the consequences of their action, even if they are aware of them. The best example is Shadow of the Colossus, where the protagonist, known as Wanda, kills titanic beings to resurrect the woman he cares for. Every time he kills one, he slowly gets corrupted by beings made out of darkness. Which brings us to the next point. In all his games, every living being is made out of two sides, light and darkness. Light and darkness are not luminosity and shade, but the actual part of living beings. In his games, they are both energies to be harvested and used. The villain's objective in his games is to extract light from living beings and use it for their intentions, leaving behind the darkness, which they control to animate shadow puppets with no free will. The best example is The Last Guardian, where children are kidnapped and used as fuel, separating their light side, mutating into a goo used to feed the mythical creatures inside the game known as Trico, making them addicted to it. He throws the player in the middle of the setting without any explanation to create mystery and immediate emotional response. The rest of the game will have little or no dialogue. The scenery is always cryptically intriguing, leaving the player wanting more and discover what the story is about. The best example is Ico, where the protagonist, a child with horns, is brought to a fortress by some knights, and then closed into a sarcophagus, with the knights saying, "Do not be angry with us, this is for the good of the village." It immediately pushes the player to ask questions and enter the game full of curiosity. All Ueda games do not give any direct answers to the players, but let them figure out the general story. The only part that is direct is the end of the game. There is a twist to the entire narrative that changes the gamer's experience, putting all the plot and emotions upside down. I'm not going to give any example not to spoil your experience, because I hope you will all decide to play it yourself. Fumito Ueda likes to keep things simple regarding relationships. There will be only two characters linked to each other for most of the game. The player will control one, and the other will support the gameplay by helping the player solve puzzles. It creates a symbiotic relationship where one needs the other, going full throttle on the player's emotion, who grows affectionate to the pair, so much so that if one dies or attacks the other, it will be emotionally crushing. Ico and Yorta, a girl's he frees, form the pair in Ico. In Shadow of the Colossus, it is Wanda and your trusty steed, Argo, and in The Last Guardian it's the child and Trico. On a personal note, Fumito Ueda has been an innovator in the video game world. Through minimalist landscape design, strong aesthetic and immersive gameplay, he pushed the boundaries of gaming experience and put the first steps to shorten the gap between video game and art. In the description you'll find a link to Shadow of the Colossus, which is considered his masterpiece. Onward to the next author!